Okay, my guest today is Ayal Steiner, who's the General Manager of Outbrain in Australia and New Zealand. Ayal, I've seen Outbrain described as a web-based content discovery platform. So let me get this right. So content creators can upload their content, so whether that's articles, blog posts, videos, to Outbrain, and then the content is then listed on the sites of major publishers. So the goal is to drive traffic back to the content creator's site. Am I simplifying that too much? Is that what you guys do?
It's pretty much it. The reason why we call it content discovery is because our mission is basically to help readers discover the most interesting and engaging content available on the web today. So we definitely partner with publisher websites, and we use them as a platform to look at what people are reading and drive traffic to other pieces of interesting content.
So you're in the business of recommending stories to readers while at the same time helping publishers to gain more traffic or to monetize their traffic?
Well, exactly right. I mean, basically, the reason why publishers choose to work with Outbrain, it has two main reasons. The first one is to keep readers engaged on their site. So if you look at any of the Outbrain widgets, usually most of the links will take you back to stories on that publisher website. So that's a mechanism for publishers to keep readers more engaged on their site and increase the pages per session. The second part of it is the from the web links, where this is where publishers actually open up and are willing to send traffic to other third-party content, being that another publisher or a brand or that running a microsite or a blogger. As long as it's genuine content and not something that tries to get a direct response out of people. And basically anyone who wants to get their content discovered works with Outbrain, and we rev share back with the publisher. So from a publisher standpoint, that's another monetization pillar that they can use to monetize their pages.
So the word native advertising is sort of started to come into vogue. I've also seen native content marketing. Does this kind of fall into that bucket?
Well, native advertising is obviously a term that has been popping around in the last few months, and especially in concert with content marketing. And that's basically how brands are trying to promote their brand, build their brand, and build the trust around their brand through content. We're not a company that does that. We don't do native advertisement or native content or content marketing, but we definitely help people who work in that space to get their content discovered.
So walk us through then, what are the benefits? So you're sort of in between the content providers. So today that could be or more likelihood that's likely to be a major brand potentially who is creating their own content and being their own media channel, and then the major publishers. So let's look at the top end at the moment. How does that work? So I'm a big brand in technology. I'm creating content that's relevant, compelling, genuine, not hard sell. And I go through your company, I go through Outbrain. So what happens then?
Basically, we take those content. It can be photo galleries, text articles, or videos. We take those and we run them through our network. And basically running them through our network of publishers is we're installed on more than 80,000 sites worldwide and run 70 billion recommendations each month. So we have the scale of the network to allow us to find places where that content drives the most engaged audience back to your site. So once we get those pieces of content, we crawl them and try to understand what they're about. And algorithmically, we place those across our network in places where we see the most engaged audience interacting with those links and coming back to that to that brand site. So it really is an algorithmic game to try and predict for someone who's reading something online right now, what would be the most engaging pieces of content available from our buyer's marketplace. So that's potentially the infinite supply of different pieces of content we can promote there.
So I'm the tech firm, and our stories have come up probably likely to be on a tech page of a major online newspaper, for example.
Okay.
Is that how it would work? And And so why would a major publisher want to send traffic off their site?
I think that's a very good question. And basically, publishers now are waking up to a new reality where they realize that online readers read more than one publisher site. I mean, they explore the web, they read around, and they actually almost expect the publisher to help them discover what's interesting around the web and not just keep them engaged in their site. So publishers are basically realizing that people are visiting other sites across the web. They might as well monetize it and lead the conversation rather than eventually people bouncing off their pages.
So your business model, if I get this right, the content creator pays you, and then you pay a proportion of that to the publisher on an as-used basis.
Correct. We rev share back with the publisher.
Okay. So, as you say, it's a way for publishers to make money. It's a way for content creators to drive traffic on their websites. So, you've got the big end of town, and that's starting to make sense because obviously a major brand wants major traffic. What about at the smaller end? How much does it cost? I mean, say you're a blogger and you're quite new, but your content is good. How does that work? Or does it work? Is it suitable for them?
The working with us is very streamlined and very simple. Basically, what we need is URLs of the pieces of content. So we have a self-serve platform that basically you can go in there, create an account, upload, as you mentioned, the specific pieces of content, or you just give us an RSS and we take everything from your blog. And you nominate a cost per click and provide a daily budget and run with that. Our system then tries and fulfill that budget based on the configuration of the campaign that you put in there. You can target by geography, and that allows you to attract readers from a certain geography just rather than just spray it around across our wide network. And that's really as simple as it gets. You can start with as low as $10 a day, and you nominate your CPC, your cost per click, and you basically pay post-factum. So after the clicks were delivered, you pay.
So as a blogger, I could give you $10 a day and say I only want readers from Victoria.
Correct.
Okay. So what's in terms of, I guess, the quality? I know you've got the crawling and you've got algorithms in place. Two things in terms of content recommendations: quality plus relevance. How does that work?
Very, very important to us. As I mentioned earlier, our number one mission, or the lighthouse as we refer to it internally, is help readers discover the most interesting content. We know that if readers would essentially associate our unit, where it's something that when you click one of the links, it takes you to a page where it's dubious content or something that smells like an ad or smells like it's trying to get a direct response out of you, we essentially erode the trust on the page, the trust of readers, the readers give us on the unit. So it's very, very important to us to maintain a high level of quality of content running through our network. We have very strict editorial guidelines that are designed to make sure that everything that we run and promote through the network is purely editorial content. Every piece of content, if you would run a campaign with us, there would be someone looking at the content, a human being looking at the content to make sure that it's a content that can appear safely on sites like CNN, Sydney Morning Herald or The Age or news.com.au. We don't want anything there that erodes the trust of readers on the unit. So that's in terms of quality of content that we try and maintain, and we enforce that religiously. The second piece that you asked about is relevancy, and in many cases we get the response of, hang on, I'm reading something on sports. Why do I have a review of or itinerary for traveling in Thailand? How is that even related? Well, the reality is that readers want interesting, and interesting is in most cases non-related. And it's funny that we've got more than 40 algorithms that are running in the background to try and predict what would be the most interesting piece of content for someone who's reading something right now. And the contextual ones, so these are the algorithms that actually look at what the article is about and look at what the other potential candidates for recommendation are about. And the contextual algorithms are actually the one that performs the least good. So in a nutshell, the context of what you're reading predicts is not the best not the best to predict what you'd be interested in. And we look at other things like personalization and social, and we look at things like collaborative filtering. So try and find niches of interest. So people who read this also read that. And in most cases, it ends up being non-related.
So it's a bit like the Amazon recommendation engine in that respect?
In many ways it is. I mean, obviously the Amazon the Amazon recommendation unit is very much tailored to its offering and product.
Yeah.
We're really focusing on recommending content. And it may sound and appear the same, but it's a world of difference. But yeah, the relevancy, surprisingly though, is not the best predicator. We try and equate that to flipping through a magazine. When you think about it, when you buy a magazine or a newspaper, you flip the page and you're reading sport, and you flip the page and here you are on technology, and then you flip the page and here you are on art. And that magical moment when you discover something new as you flip the page, we're trying to bottle that experience through the Outbrain unit.
So I saw on one of your company's SlideShare presentations, and you had the phrase something like "discovery is the new SEO." Does that mean that SEO is dying?
Really not my place to say. I think that SEO is fantastic. Obviously, very interesting area, because when someone is searching online, there's an intent associated with that.
Yep.
So when someone is searching for the term content marketing, you know that he's actively looking at it. Discovery is completely the other side of the spectrum. It's basically helping readers discover content that they never even knew existed, unlike search, when you're searching for something with a certain intent in mind. But discovery is a very interesting field that we pioneered, and we think it's for people who are looking at attracting traffic at scale in a cost-effective manner. Discovery is definitely something that they need to look into, because everyone knows about search. People already know about social and the ability to acquire traffic through social channels, but discovery is new and as exciting and cost-effective than any of those other channels.
So we have to add another word to our marketing kit bag these days.
Discovery?
Yes.
Yeah. You may. I just did my presentation in Content Marketing World, and I was talking about traffic acquisition, and how traffic acquisition is actually, for anyone who wants to, try and get engaged audience, traffic acquisition is actually the easiest part of the equation. What happens post the click is what's interesting. People have search strategies and social strategies, or maybe have discovery strategies, but they're not really strategies. These are just channels to get people into your content. And this real strategy is around how do you keep them engaged, because that's what you want them to do, to engage with your content, to share it, and to maximize their experience once you've in some cases paid to get them to discover your content.
So you mentioned you were at Content Marketing World in Sydney last week. How was it? How did it go? It's probably the first major content marketing event in Australia. We're interested to get your views on how brands and businesses embracing the concept of content marketing. I guess they're all converts by the time they get to an event like that.
Correct. I mean, everyone obviously who came to the Content Marketing World already heard about content marketing and already have a vested interest in it. Personally, I found the event to be very well organized, and it's the first time they're coming. This is from the Content Marketing Institute out of the US, and they've been running the Content Marketing World conference for a few years now, and it's the first time they're coming to Australia, and they've done that with partnerships through King Content. I was really surprised to see the level of engagement and excitement in the audience around that space. In the keynote presentation, Joe Polizzi was reviewing the amount of times that the term content marketing versus search marketing has been Googled in different search engines. And you can see that content marketing is trending upwards while search marketing is trending downwards. And so, yes, I think that brands are looking for new ways to engage and interact and build their relationship with clients, realizing that ads or traditional advertisement is getting less and less effective, especially with young audience. And content seems to be a very compelling offering. And there's, the case studies and success stories around this are just too good to ignore.
So why is Outbrain set up in Australia? Is that because you obviously, you would think that Australia is sort of starting to get big into this space? A lot of online publishers, a lot of content creators. What was the reasoning to set up in Australia? And what other countries around the world are you in?
So just to give everyone some context, our headquarters is out of New York. So the company has been around for 6 years and the headquarters is in New York. And for the past, for the first 4 years, they've been really focusing on the US market. And in the last 2 years, we started to expand globally. So into UK and other European countries. And last year, we've expanded to South America and Brazil, Southeast Asia through a regional office in Singapore, and to Australia and New Zealand. We're always on the lookout for new markets where we feel we can add value. But the number one catalyst is where we believe we can add value, rather than just be have our flag on that country in the global map. So Australia we definitely saw the potential and the appetite, both from a publisher standpoint and from a brand standpoint. And we thought we have a compelling offer to get those to help both those areas, publishers to monetize and to engage, and brands to acquire traffic to their content marketing strategy.
So which publishers have you got in Australia? You mentioned Fairfax or The Age before. Have you signed them up, or are you just at this too early days at this point?
No, they're definitely, we've partnered already both with News Limited and Fairfax. We started working here in Australia back in September. So I was really, really surprised by how quickly the local market reacted to what Outbrain has to offer, and how quickly both those organizations moved from a technology standpoint to roll it out to their pages. So we now power the recommendations across all Fairfax sites. We power news.com.au with the rest of the sites to follow in the near months. And we're basically discussing with we're live on Big Pond News, and we have other smaller sites in our network. But we're talking to all the anyone you can imagine in the publisher scene, including Yahoo 7 and 9 MSN, and the reactions have been extremely, extremely positive.
So I guess the next strata down is the more industry-specific publications, online publications. So there's a big jump between them and the majors.
Correct. I mean, one of the dynamics of the Australian market is the fact that it's very centralized and have very few big players and a very long tail of second and third tier publishers. And we're talking basically across to different publishers wherever they are. If they've got good content and they want to build their audience and they want to keep them engaged, we're extremely happy to help.
And just one other question without notice, can you leave us with an example of, I don't know whether it's a big or a small brand or content creator that has seen a lot of growth in the traffic as a result of using Outbrain?
Well, it's challenging for me to discuss numbers and performance of specific campaigns. If you really want to see the type of advertisers or traffic acquisition that we have, you can go to any of those sites and just look at from the web. You'll see some, and this is public quote unquote information because it's just there. You can see what type of links we run. But we definitely have some phenomenal reactions from brands that run corporate blogs that all of a sudden we're the number one source of traffic. And what we look at in many of those cases is not just the click, because the click to their site is just the beginning. It's just, even though this is, everyone's focusing on the click-through rate and think, okay, you get your money on the click, so you care about that click. But actually, the click is just the beginning. What we want to make sure is that we drive the most engaged audience back to your site. And we also look, if you put our code on your pages, we look at the engagement level of what's happening post-click. And it's what's happening post-click, that second page, if you're looking at another piece of content on the site, how long you're staying there really helps us optimize the campaign. So the click is actually, I feel everyone's focusing on that, but that's not where the interest should be.
So you take it one step deeper. So you've got analytics. So once someone's clicked onto the brand's page, as you say, a corporate blog, you can tell whether they go deeper and where they go. That's through your engine.
If they choose to have us installed on their pages, we basically drive traffic to URLs. But unless we have our code on the page or we power the recommendation on that site, we lose that visibility. So we can only deliver the click, but after that, we help those brands understand and configure their Google Analytics or any analytics software they use to look at what's happening to the traffic coming in. And even, in content marketing world, my session was not about, I covered the potential channels, search, social, discovery in 5 minutes. The rest of the session was around what are you going to do with that traffic? Because as I mentioned earlier, traffic is actually the easiest thing to solve because you can solve it with money. Keeping them on a page, getting them to engage with your content, you can't buy that. You have to work hard for that.
Well, it's exciting times ahead. As you say, content marketing in Australia is starting to be a bit of a buzzword, but there's a lot more to it than just whacking up a blog post these days. And now there's a lot of tools. Sometimes there may be too many tools. I still like to see the human side of content creation and the passion rather than too much content that's just keyword driven and starts to look the same all the time. But then what you guys have got is another layer on top of that, which takes it to a whole new level. So certainly from a big brand's perspective, it's it's almost that they are still very old school metric focused, a lot of the major brands. So this is probably a way in for them to really start getting their ROI on content, etc. So exciting times ahead on the back of Content Marketing World in Sydney last week, and you guys opening up in Australia in recent times. So I'll be watching with interest all the recommendations on the major publishers.
By all means.
Thank you very much, Ayal.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for your time.
Bye-bye.